Hi, everyone. My name is Mickey Hudson, and thank you for joining today's Facebook Live, my Sonnet embroidery software. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, as I always do, to come in and get settled and do my little housekeeping announcements. So the housekeeping announcements, I always want to thank my behind-the-scenes crew, Meredith, Ryan, and Thomas. They help me in many ways, so I don't like to leave them out. I also would like to remind everyone that this is a free event. At no time are we going to be asking for personal information or for money. So if you see any links and you click on them and they ask for any of that, please report it and do not click on it. There may be a survey at the end of the event. Feel free to fill that out. Once again, they're not going to ask, nobody's asking for personal information. It's a completely an anonymous survey, but it helps us to improve on the Facebook Lives that we are doing. So once again, for those of you that have come in, my name is Mickey Hudson, and today on my Sonnet embroidery software, we are doing the QuickFonts. This is something that's been requested for a while now, and I'm very excited that I get to be the one to do it. So for those of you that are not familiar with QuickFonts, the software, the silver, the gold, and the platinum levels have a plethora of built-in embroidery fonts. But what QuickFonts does is it allows you to create fonts from any true type font. And this includes the free basic level as well. So for those of you that may not be ready to upgrade and are trying out the basic level, you too can access this. I am going to be working primarily on the Windows PC side of things. However, I am a Mac girl, so I've got it right here. If there are any Mac questions, feel free to ask. I will definitely be happy to show you. As far as the differences between Mac and PC, they're really very similar. It's just that the buttons on one are on the top and the buttons on the other are on the bottom. So sometimes we get a little lost if we're crossing over a lot. I am going to start out with the basic software. So this is the free download that you get when you create a free My Sonnet basic account. And the reason I'm doing this is to get to QuickFonts is a little different on the basic level than it is on the others. So I want to go ahead and just quickly show you how to do this. Okay, so I'm going to be on the Mac, and I'm going to go ahead and double click, and I'm going to open this. I am also working with the platinum level. So if you are on the silver level, you will not have the wizards, for example. You will have stuff like the applique when I talk about that. Basic, of course, does not have this. Now I'm going to go ahead and just touch on configure. Now a reminder, this is for the free basic My Sonnet embroidery software. So for the free basic My Sonnet embroidery software, we are going to configure. And when configure opens up, and do not click happy, be patient. When configure pops up, you're going to come over to the utilities, and over here you will see the QuickFont, and this will open up the window that we will be using today. So this is how you're going to get to it. You're going to go to File, Configure, Utilities, and QuickFont. Now on the Mac side, I'm going to show you real quick because you're not going to go that way. You will just go to your Launchpad, and in the My Sonnet downloads, you will have a QuickFont icon that you can just double tap on. Okay. All right. So any questions about that? So for the rest of you that are on silver, gold, or platinum, you will be following the way I'm describing now. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to our letter tab. And you will have this icon that looks like a big F in a folder, and that is your font manager. So on the Mac side, it does not say the font manager. It only has the icon, but you will see it. Let me just show you. See how you see when you go to the letter tab, just have this little icon right here, right? Now, one of the things when it comes to the QuickFont, any true type font will work. So if you are unfamiliar with a true type font, they are the fonts that we use in our Word programs, and many of the programs use true type font. And there is a plethora. There are just so many free downloadable true type fonts that you can choose from. And so I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that is a little non-conventional as well. But any free true type font that you can download and install into your computer, you can use in QuickFonts. So it's exciting. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to open up my QuickFonts. Now, this first window that we have, there's a couple of things going on, and I want to explain this. So the first one is our font, and this has a little pull down, and this is where we can view all of our true type fonts. So there's some that are already built in, and then there's some that you'll have downloaded. So for instance, some of these little guys down here are webdings, or sometimes they're images instead of lettering, but they can make some cute little like mini designs. They're really fun. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and select Arial Black so that you can see clearly what I am doing. Now, when you select the font, over here, it's going to give you a preview. It will update this preview every time we make a change. So we can kind of get a peek at what the finished result is going to look like. So that is under font. And when we come to style, we'll have a pull down as well. And we have regular, we have bold, we have italic, and we have bold italic. Now the bold and the bold italic is not showing up too well, but as you can see how you get a little preview of what it is that you're doing. This is extremely helpful as we go along. Now the file type, now this is interesting because you can select use it for my Sonnet embroidery system, and this will install it right into the software. And the other is for using on my embroidery machine. Now, for those of you on the basic level, this is your only choice. So you will, I'm going to show you how to do both of these, but this is your only choice. So, because you do not have fonts built in. But I want to talk about that because what it does is when you create a file for the machine, it creates a file that you can then load into your file manager right on whatever Wi-Fi capable embroidery machine that you have. And then you can, when you click on it, it'll bring up the keyboard. So you just type it in just the way you would with any other built-in font. So it makes it really, really easy to use. Really exciting. So I will kind of show you a little bit here. All right. Oh, and I want to, let me change my window. Oh dear, I forgot to do this beforehand. So you might have to just deal with me not being visible while we do this, unless I can do a quick switcheroo while it's thinking. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so we were talking about the for use in the embroidery system and then for use for the machine directly. And you can use Husqvarna Viking or FAF because those are our Wi-Fi capable machines. Now, when it comes down here to the character set and I select this, there's a whole bunch of this. And it's like you may wonder what this all means. So extended is, numbers, letters, characters. Super extended, there is more. Latin is a little different, Cyrillic, etc. And I'm going to show you how we can find out about those. So I'm going to go ahead and exit this for now. And I'm going to open up this is my browser. I'm just going to close this and minimize. Just get this out of the way so I can see you guys. So if you go into the MySewNet embroidery, there is the Knowledge Center, which you can learn quite a bit about many things. So I'm just going to go here real quick. And there's the Vantage Point newsletter. Now this is, oh, I'm not signed in. Oh, I know, I'm signed out into my daughter's account. So if you have Wi-Fi capabilities for, I'll have you look at me while I do this, with friends and family, a lot of times you can just send things over. I send things over to my grandchildren all the time. So I just sign into her account and then just send it to her Wi-Fi capable machine, and then she's got access to it. So it makes it really nice. Which is why she has that machine, because it saves me a lot of work. Oh, there we go. All right. So when you go to the Knowledge Center, you go to the Vantage newsletter. Oh, I go to the Vantage newsletter all the time. There we go. All right. So what'll happen is there's all these little projects. Now, I don't want you to think about the projects as, I really am not interested in making that. What you want to do is just go ahead and work through the project and learn about the software, because they're always going to be bringing some new technique. And if you click on read more, there is printed on both Mac and PC. And there's also videos for both Mac and PC. So no matter how you like to learn, there's lots of help built in right here. But here I just did a MySewNet QuickFonts search, and the first hit that came up is exactly the page that I'm looking for. And I'm assuming that it's because this is a page that is constantly looked at. So here it talks about the character set, and you don't need to read all this or know all this, but it's a nice little reference if you want to see what characters are being used when they talk about the extended or the super extended. So you can see they've added a few more little features, etc. So each little grouping will have different commands. So, there's A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, but then there's also the little character icons that you can do as well. And there's a lot of other features that a lot of keyboards have nowadays. And so it's kind of a good idea to see what's going on. And that's an easy way to find it. So everybody got that? Because I want to get into playing. All right. So I'm going to open it. Oh, you don't want to see me. You want to see my file manager, my QuickFonts. So we're going to come back over here. But that is what the character sets are. So if you're curious about what this character set will give you on your keyboard, you can just go to the MySewNet website and take a look. All right. So we'll go ahead and click Next. Now, here is where it really gets fun. So here's where we have lots and lots of options. So the first thing we have is the stitch type. There's a pull down, which means these are all the different ways we can stitch this out. I can do a satin, a pattern fill. Well, let me just show you. So we've got the little image over here, and it's showing the satin. Or if we do a pattern fill, it's going to regenerate and give us just the pattern fill. I can do a pattern fill in a satin border. And when I do this, it's going to regenerate so that I can see what my selection will look like. I can do just a satin border. And I can do applique. And I can do just an outline. So we're going to talk more about all of this because this is just step one of the creativity that we can get right into designing these. So basically we're doing a little bit of designing here. So I'm choosing the satin applique because the pattern fill. And I'm going to jump down here real quick, all the way down to the bottom to colors because it's defaulting in this nice blue, but it doesn't show up really well for you guys. So I'm going to change the color to a lighter color, and that might work a little better. And then I'm going to come back up here. So we had pattern fill, but then right below it are stitch options. And if you've ever taken a MySewNet class with me, you know that I say that options and preferences are the playgrounds. Because when I come here and just click on here, this will open up my pattern fill window. Right now, I am on pattern fill number 3. But there's also a pull down. We have over 250 different pattern fills that you can choose from. So I'm going to take this. This will show up really well. I can change the angle. I can change the underlay. I can change the density, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it OK. And you can see that it made changes right on the pattern fill. So I can just do all kinds of fun stuff. Now, when I selected stitch option or the stitch type, it defaulted to 20 millimeter to 120 millimeter. So it's going to select the recommended size range that it has. But again, you can kind of play with it if you want to. But if you go outside the size range recommend, you know what I'm saying. What'll happen is it's kind of enter at your own risk because the software is compensating for this size. So if you want to go smaller or larger, you may have to do some tweaking or something like that. But pretty much straightforward out of the gate, it's pretty much fine. And as I see, I'm going to go ahead and change the stitch type, but I want you to watch these numbers here as I do that, because you will see, depending on what I'm choosing, I get different numbers. So they're giving me the recommended range here. Has everybody got that? Are there any questions about that? Okay. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to talk about the baseline, nearest point, or continuous. So what this does is it's when you type in, I'm going to go ahead and exit this for a moment. But here, for instance, if let me go to my letters and touch jelly. So when I do this, you can see how these are kind of connecting. So depending on the font that you choose, this would be a connecting, or you can have a continuous, no, this would be the continuous. Sorry. Let me open up my QuickFonts again. And next. So there's the baseline, which is going to connect at the base of all of the fonts. And it's going to line up this base with this base so that it continues straight. The nearest point is going to connect the nearest points together. So this would connect to this. And then, of course, the continuous is the script, where you want everything to kind of connect in a script. Now, that got a little confusing coming out of my mouth. Does everybody kind of get that? Now, once again, when we do these Facebook Lives, we are really hoping that we will give you enough information that you will go and play. And my recommendation is to do a font and select each one. So select this and go through and save it. Select this, go through and save it. Select this, go through and save it. And then just type them out and see how they look. Because once you do it and you see it, it all clicks into place. Okay. And then we're back down here to the colors. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and select an applique. And when this happens, you will see that I get options here. I can change the border color. And I can even change the applique color. Now this is quick applique. So what this means is, this is a bad combination. Yes. Oh, we'll just do this. But what quick applique means is that we're just basically picking the colors and instead of fabric, and we can, when it does the stitch out. So for those of you that have ever done machine applique, often the designs will have 3 different colors. So it'll have color 1, and then it'll stop color 2, etc. With quick applique, you just get the 1 color, but you do get the stops. So it'll stitch a little bit, and then it'll stop and say place your fabric, and then it'll stitch the cut line, and then you cut it, and then it'll stitch the outline. But that's what the quick applique does. Okay. But we'll talk more about changing the applique fabric in a bit. So once you're happy with your choice here, we'll go ahead and select next, and it's going to just generate a font. Now here we have, let me see if I can, might be a little tough to see, but the font name here, you can name it whatever you'd like. But all of this little stuff means something. So basically, I have chosen the Arial Black, I have chosen regular, and I have applique, and I have drawn a blank, and I'm drawing at 80 to 21. Let me go back. I hate when I draw blanks. Oh, it's extended. There we go. So if I chose super extended, it would do an SE. See how it says SE now? And then this is the size range, is the 80 to 20. Okay. You can also print a catalog, which will give you all of the letters, the numbers, the super extended icons, etc. So if you want to print them out and keep a collection to keep them ordered, if you're one of those orderly people, which I am not, so what'll happen here is it'll go into the My Fonts folder. And, well, let me close. It'll go into the My Fonts folder. Oh, no, I set it into script. Let me show you why that happened. So one of the things is that one thing about QuickFonts is it doesn't reset when you've finished one. So when you open QuickFonts again, if you did the applique with satin border or you did this or whatever, that's what's going to open up to. So you need to make sure that you change it. And the last font that I did, I sent it to scripts. And so didn't reset to My Fonts. So that's what happened here. So I'm going to select this. And when you're in here, in your font manager, this is where we can make changes. You do not want to do anything to the built-ins, and honestly, I don't think they let you. But this is one that I've added, and I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to delete that. Permanent? Yep, I know. So I'm going to go ahead back to my QuickFonts, and I'm going to repeat this again. So repetition is good. So we're just going to kind of go over this again. We're going to click next. Again, it defaulted to the last thing that I chose. And then it's going to ask me once again, where do I want it? And see here, the last one I saved was in script, so it just defaulted there. But I want to send it to my fonts. To be honest with you, my fonts are usually where I keep everything because I like to be able to find them. But every once in a while, you'll create something that's so gorgeous and you're just going, I'm going to use this all the time. Well, then you can send it to the actual category that you want it to. And that's what I had done previously. And that is why it defaulted there. But now it'll go to my fonts. I'm going to go ahead and click finish. And you'll see it. If I go to my fonts, it will show up in my fonts. And there it is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close. And I'm going to come to my fonts. So there's my fonts. And I can type in A, B, 1. And so remember what I said just a second ago. Sometimes when we're doing this, we do have to fiddle with it a little bit to get everything exactly the way we want it. So I'm just going to leave this because I'm going to show you what the different things do. And I'm going to go to my QuickFonts again. And this time, I'm going to, see, there we go, continuous, baseline. And in this one, I'm going to add a B for baseline because I'm going to let you guys see the difference. So finish. And I'm going to open it again. And I'm going to do a continuous or nearest point. There we go. That's the one we're missing. And I'm going to finish. Where did you go? All right. So what I did here is I've got the baseline. I'm going to go ahead and just put this back. This will be more like what we're used to seeing. And then I'm also going to go to the nearest point. And do the same thing. And sorry, I did have to give up my screen size in order for you to see more clearly. Well, in this one, the nearest point and the baseline look very similar. On some of them, it looks very different. But this is continuous. As you can see, it's doing the capital letter and then it's going to script the rest. Is there any questions about any of this so far? You want me to review anything before I continue on? So just let me know if you want me to review anything, especially if I stumble over my words a little bit. because I'm happy to clarify it. Now I want to go for use on the embroidery machine. Now this one will take a little bit more patience when it comes to getting things set up. But for those of you that are on the free basic My Sew Net embroidery software, this is what you will be doing. So the first thing you're going to do is select this. If you select for the embroidery system, there's no place for it to save for you. So it'll just save into the ether and you'll never be able to find anything. And again, you'll tell it which machine you're working with. And we'll go ahead and click next. And in this case, when we do it this way, we do not get the range the way we do when we are working with the software. We have to kind of select a size. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and bump it up to 80. Now, also, what you may not know is when we come into these windows that are in millimeter, you can go into configure and change and work in inches. However, you can also just come in here and say, oh, I want it to be 3 inches. And if you put the inch marks, it will automatically set it for you. Oops, I hit something too far. So it'll automatically set it for you into millimeters. And the same thing too, if I hover, it will also tell me in inches how big it is. So if you prefer to go to configure and change to inches, that's fine. But as you can see, they've made it very, very easy for us to do both. And they've done that for a while now, but it's very, very easy to do both. So I'm going to go ahead and select baseline. Nope, it's fine. There's 20 is good. Now here's where the important part is because we cannot save it to the font category. We can only save it to a stick or a file. So a USB stick, or we can save it to our desktop, but we need to transfer the file over to the machine in the more conventional sense, is like USB stick. I'm going to just see if I can get this set real quick because I miss seeing you guys while I'm talking. All right, so that should take care of it. So my switcher is set to, there I am. Okay. So now I can just work in this mode. But what I want to do is I want to show you how to set it to how it works in the machine. So once again, you can do this for whether or not you have the embroidery software or you just have the basic. But if you have the basic, you have to do it this way. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take finish. And now if I go ahead and close everything, there is my Arial Black here. Now it's a file that is designed for your Husqvarna Viking or FAF Wi-Fi capable machines. Now, if you try and open it, nothing's going to happen. But I did do one in here earlier, and I'm going to, I did get that stitched out. All right, but when you you save the file, you're going to put it on a USB stick. and you're going to load it, and it's going to show up in your file manager. All right, so if I go to File Manager, so there's one I did earlier. There's one I did earlier. There's one I did earlier. All right, let me grab my USB stick. I probably deleted it so that I could show you guys how to do this. So I'm going to change my camera view because I don't want to make you sick. And of course, get you in there. All right. I'll bring you back over here. Let's see about, oops. Hold on one second. I'm just going to turn off my light. So I'm going to yell at my Alexa now. Ziggy, turn off light 3. Thank you. Does that help any? No. Okay. But when you plug in the USB device, you get it lights up here. You won't see it unless you have a USB device in. But as you can see here is my fonts. So this one was the first one that I did, but I'm going to take this one. And I'm going to, oops. Nope, I want to start over. So I'm going to go to my USB device. I got a little click happy. And I can actually select this, and I can either copy. So when it comes to your icons, now I know mine may look a little different than yours, but you have all of these same icons on your embroidery machine. You have edit, which is the little pencil, which I do not want to do. I know I don't want to do that. I got a little click happy, I know. I can edit, I can copy, I can paste, I can cut, and I can delete. So that is what, that is what these are. So edit has the little edit pencil, copy, paste, cut, delete. This little guy will allow you to make a new folder. So you can actually create a folder called fonts. So now I have a fonts folder. Back up a bit. Hold on to your stomachs. So I have a fonts folder. If I select this, I'm going to go ahead and cut it because I'm going to physically remove it from one place and put it to another. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to touch and hold to open my fonts, and I'm going to paste it. And it now is moved here, and it is no longer here. So it's been moved. Okay. You guys with me so far? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is that now if I touch on this, which is now what I'm planning on doing, touch and hold, it will bring up the keyboard. So now I can just type in capital A, lowercase b, and the number 1. So you don't have to bring in each individual design the way you do with purchased embroideries or when you download from the MySewNet library an embroidery collection. You can now just type. And this is what it does on the software too, of course. Ziggy, turn on light 3. So are there any questions about any of that so far? Okay. I'll give you a minute to type and stuff. But I like questions, so please feel free to ask questions. Makes me feel like I'm part of the group. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to QuickFont again. And I'm going to select a different font this time. And what I'm going to do is look for a bold one. So I'm just going to come here and do impact. So I'm going to tell it, in this case, I'm going back to the embroidery software. You're looking at me. You don't want to look at me. You can go back to look to setting it for the MySewNet embroidery system. Again, you can, any of you can do this, setting it up for the machine, but only the basics have to do it. But for the rest of us, I often just put it in my software because it's just as easy to type it on my computer as it is on my. That is a very good question. Let me see. I'll look into it and get back to you on the Premiere. So it's Premiere and not Premiere Plus or Premiere Plus 2. It's all the way back to just the Premiere. So get clarification on that. But I will come back and I'll double check on that. Or not double check, but I will answer it in the comments because I'll have to open up my software. Does the Designer Applique 2 work the same way? Yes, it does. So any of the Wi-Fi capable machines. So the Creative Icon, the FAF Creative Icon, the FAF Creative Icon 2, and then the Husqvarna Viking Wi-Fi line, which is the Designer Brilliance 80, Designer Brilliance 85, the Designer Ruby 90, the Designer Applique, and the Designer Applique 2. So any of those embroidery machines that have the Wi-Fi capability, this will work for. So very, very exciting. But thanks for the questions. I feel like part of the group now. Yay. But yeah, I'm going to have to open up my, I don't even know if I still have my Premiere. But I'll take a look at the Premiere and see and get back to you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. And we've already done this. This is the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the stitch options. So we can, especially when it comes to applique, you will see this option pop up. And what this does is I can do standard applique, which is the traditional, it stitches an outline, you place your fabric, it stitches the cut line, and then it stitches the final. Yes, it does work with the Sapphire 85. For those of you that have cutting machines, you may want to use your cutting machine because I know Premiere Plus 2 embroidery does it, and the MySewNet embroidery software definitely does it. But you can send files to your cutting machines. So for those of you that have, I don't know, like Silhouette and stuff like that, you can pre-cut your applique fabrics before you stitch them out. And that works with the fonts as well as just general applique as well. The pre-placed fabric I have never really worked with, but again, every time I click on something here, it will give me the breakdown of what it's going to do. So this one says, before starting to stitch, place your applique layer into position, stitch it down with a double stitch, and stop automatically. Then trim the applique. So this one is, it sounds like it's more, it doesn't stitch that first outline. And then the cutout is it's going to double stitch the outline first and then cut the hole in the fabric. So I'm not going to read it all, but this, anytime with the MySewNet embroidery software, very often, if they give you choices, if you select the choice, it'll give you a brief description of what that choice is. If you want more choices, you can always go to the MySewNet library. And if you look at like the help menu, so here I have the MySewNet software help, mysewnet.com. You can take a look at all kinds of stuff. So there's the whole menu, or you can just say, I'm just looking, I know what the first word is, I can look it up, or you can actually just do a search for the exact phrase that you're looking for. So MySewNet is really trying its best to make things as easy as possible and as informative as possible. But when we come to like a pre-cut piece, so take a breath. Raise my hand, changing subject. Um, when we come back to the pre-cut piece, we also get a margin here. So we can decide that if we want a little bit of a space in between our outline and the fabric, or we can say we want it to match the placement line exactly. But that's what this is doing. Okay. All right. I think I've covered all of that. But I want to go here with the pattern fill and the satin border because this gives us the two options to choose from. So I'm going to change my stitch fill and I'm going to do something. Now, when you use fills, this is a little tip. When you use fills with fonts, because fonts are relatively smaller, once you get into the larger sizes, it doesn't become so much of an issue. But if your sizes are kind of under the 2-inch range, that's where you have to be kind of careful because there are some designs that are very kind of open and some designs that are super, super tight. And these are the ones you want to be careful of when it comes to smaller fonts. Now, does that mean it can't be done? No, you can. But just know that you'll do a test out before you fall in love with it because you just want to make sure that you're not over testing it. But you can also change the density. So I went ahead and chose the tight one because you can come down and change the density. Now, when it comes to the density of an embroidery project, it gets a little confusing. Now, they've given us this nice, wonderful little guide so that you can see kind of where you're going. But just a rule, the general rule is the bigger the number, the more space there is in between the stitches. So when you're going to change your density, to kind of keep that in mind. So in this case, this is a particularly tight design. I may want to up my density a bit and just give a little bit of breathing room in between those stitches. So that is something that you can do as well. And then when I come to the satin borders, now again, options are your playground. So whenever you see options, you can change it. So here's the satin line, and I have it relatively small. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 6 millimeters and see how that changes that. So you can see here where it got a little wider in the border. Now for this little project, this is a little bit much. So I'm going to come down to 4. Cool, huh? Also down here is the real size. It's showing you the real size, but it's only, we're seeing it at 29%. And what it does is if it gives us this range, it's choosing one of the sizes that's in the middle. So it's not showing the 80 millimeters, it's showing kind of in the middle there. Now, I've been talking in inches. So like I've mentioned that if you have a design that's like less than 2 inches and this and that, how do you know what that is in millimeters? Now I've talked about this before and I will talk about it again because repetition is the key to learning anything. But it was a tip that was given me 20 years ago and it's been extremely helpful over the years. But if you think of 1 inch equals 25.4 millimeters. Okay. That's math. I'm not good at math. If you think of 1 inch equals 25 cents or 1 inch equals a quarter, I can talk about money. So if you have something that is about 2 inches, 2 inches is like 50 cents. So that's about 50 millimeters. So if I have a design that's 75 millimeters, how many quarters are in 75 cents? About 3. So it's not exact. It's not math you want to use for building a building. But if you're just looking for like a rough estimate of how big something is in millimeters to inches, that's just a quick way to do it. If I have a design that's 120 millimeters, how many quarters are in $1.20, a little less than 5. So it's just kind of a rough estimate. Um, and once you get used to doing that, you're going to be able to throw out, it's like, I just need a 2-inch font, and you'll know exactly it's going to be around 50 millimeters. Okay. Oops, no, I don't want to do that yet. I want to go back. Okay. I just want to make sure that there's nothing I've missed here because I get so excited. All right, so now I'm going to code. So now I get to hit next again. Are there any questions so far? Okay. So we are getting close to time. This amazes me how fast this hour goes. So I told you earlier that I would talk about the applique too. So when we do the applique one thing I do want to show you, because mine is doing something that yours may not. So let me get here and let me just go to next. Because I've been working so much with QuickFonts getting ready for this class, I just set mine up so that it would return to start another. And you can either say, I'm only doing one font, so I don't need to worry about that. Or if you're going to be doing a whole bunch, let's say you're going to be testing a new font, you can load the font, save it, and then go in and change the density and save it and all that kind of stuff. So if that's the case, you can turn this on. And what this will do is when it's finished, it will just put you right back at the beginning right here. So now I can just go and click next and make a little change and stuff like that. Okay, so that's cool. So there's a question, and it's a big one, not on the same topic, but is there somewhere in my sonnet that is like the old organizer? I can't find where to see all my designs at once. I also can't find where to add the auto cut feature. I'm going to have to get back to that one. The thing too with the old organizer was the images didn't show up on the screen the way they do now. What I mean is, let me show you. So if I go, all right, I don't have anything on my Windows side, so you're going to have to look in my Mac side. But if I go to Embroidery, double click on Embroidery, and go Janet Satin. Nowadays we can see it like this. So we don't really need the organizer the way we used to. I will check on it to see if there's still an option for available. But I remember back in the old days, we did not, when I had an organizer, we didn't get to see the images on our computer screen the way we did. We would just see the back of for Hus, we just see that big H. So we didn't always get to see. So that was kind of a little cheater that we had. But nowadays they've made it so much easier for us to see. But again, I will check into that and see if I can find anything about that. When creating the size span of a font, how do you know how big of a point gap you can? How do you know how big of a point gap can you create? I.e., you choose 80 to 120. Can it be 50 to 120? Yes, you can. But again, like I said, I mentioned earlier, when you come to the font manager and you create a font, and I choose, and you'll see that this number changes when I make a change here. Now, this is the recommendations coming from the program. It's saying, you want me to do this font with this option and this size and all that kind of stuff. This. If I do it this size, I'm going to give you the best result. But yeah, I could come in and say, I want to do 50 by 200. Oh, not 2000, that's too much. But what it's going to do is once you go outside of the software's recommendation, you're at the enter at your own risk category. So they're no longer going to guarantee that this is going to come out good or the way you want it. But if you are comfortable with your software, you can feel free to go ahead and do those extremes and tinker with it. You might even want to take it into modify and do some fun in there. But it does recommend a size for a reason. So especially if you're new, I highly recommend to stick with the recommendations at first. As you get more comfortable with your software and making changes to pre-existing designs, then you start doing whatever you want because you know you can. Does that answer that question? Do you load your purchase designs on your computer? Yes, I do. So I usually have the designs on the computer that I can access to. And when that happens is we would go into insert. Now in the MySonet, the Premiere, etc., because they save as VP4, well, no, we're not there yet. When it comes to inserting, let me show you. Cancel. So I'm going to go ahead and, I got to do this on my Mac side, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and come here and I'm going to open that Janet Sanson. And I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to just duplicate it. So I'll get a copy. So what'll happen is if I just come from the design and double click here and open it and make changes to it. So let's say I want to get rid of this guy. And I'm just going to get rid of this flower. All right. But what happens is, especially on the Macs, it'll autosave. But then if I go in here and save it, so let's save it. And I want to save it into my embroidery. So you can see it side by side. And I want Janet. And Melon. So if I go ahead and save it, you will see that I have lost my original. I've lost my original. It hasn't caught up yet. But so that's why you like to go to insert. If you just open the design and make changes to it or anything like that and save it, it's going to override the master file, and especially on purchase designs because you can't get that back. So you want to make sure that when you come, there's why I didn't save it. You want to insert it. Let me show you again on the Windows. So on the Mac side, the insert is found under Actions, which is this little guy here. And on the PC side, Windows side, it is found here. So if you insert it, you can make as many changes to you want, whatever you want. And when you save it, it will make you another copy. So your master is protected and you've made whatever changes you want to the second one. So if that makes sense, okay? So clarify the question, where can I find more information on downloading, installing fonts for QuickFonts? I can show you how easy it is. Here's what I found. I'm not talking to you. So let me close these. So if you just type in a search for free true type fonts, there's just a ton of places to go. Right? So let me see, there's 1001. Let's take this. And let's just, oh, that's not this isn't the company I want. If you get into a free download and you go to download it and it asks for anything else, get out of that website. Because a free download is a free download. They don't ask for anything. But I'm going to go ahead and get this guy. I'm going to download him. And he's going to download right here as a zip. If I double click, here is, oh, this one's just going to do the true type font. So, but when you double click and open it, you'll see what says install font. And now Zacharias is there. So if I come over here and open up my software again, go to blank, and I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go to my fonts. I'm on the Mac side, so if it looks a little different, that is why. But here, if I come to my QuickFonts, and I come down here to Zacharias Casual. So you see, there is, if you go to the MySewNet website and look at the owner's manual, so like if you do MySewNet QuickFont search, it'll take you to the QuickFont site. But as you can see, it's really, really easy. You download the font, you double click on it and install. It's just that fast. Any other questions? Because there's one more thing I want to show you. I know I'm over time, but you guys are just going to have to suck it up because it's cool. And I don't want you to miss out. So I am going to come down here because I talked about some of these that are images. So we've got houses, there's faces, there's monsters, there's all these kind of things. These can also be turned into the embroidery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now, depending on the design, not everything's going to work. So like for this, satin is not going to work. But what will work is, whoops, not you, is like an outline. I mean, these would make great like quilt designs. So what I'll do is I'll come here and I want my stitch length to be whatever stitch I want it to be. I like longer stitches a little bit when I'm quilting. So I usually go around 2. When I'm quilting, I choose a running stitch and I got up to 120. And I'll go ahead and click next. And I'll go ahead and put it in my fonts. Finish. But sometimes I will select a true type font based on the images instead of the actual font. So here I'm going to go A, B, C. But look at that. Look what we've got here. So I'm going to go 100, 120. And I'm just going to do an A. Well, let me do the B. Now, again, you can print this out. So I will show you that again because you can print this out rather than having to know what letters are going to do what. I've just done this a few times, so I already know which ones I want. But how cool is that? That you can just turn all these little true type images into little embroideries as well. Again, different ones will behave differently. So some I do an outline, some I'll choose to do just a fill. Just all depends on the font. Now, what was I going to show you? Oh, here's the print category. So here I can just select print, and this is on the last page when you're saving it. Where do you want to save it? And then you can print the category. Oops, I think he's printing. I didn't tell you to print, but he's printing. And you can just print your catalog so you can find it later. All right. Do you have any other final questions? I know I went over a little bit. Those couple of questions, I'm going to do some looking, and I'm going to see if I can come up with an answer, and I'll get back to you on that. I would probably not probably, I'll do it today and see if I can get you an answer today. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming. And I want to remind you that the next Facebook Live is May 11th at 2 p.m. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's cross stitch, but don't quote me on that part. But it is definitely May 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. And once again, thank you for coming, and I will talk to you all soon. All right. Thanks. Bye.